Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Joe Speaks Out here on JoeExoticTV.com every night at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Tonight, we're going to take a trip over to Kingsburg, Colorado, to the world's largest sanctuary, owned and operated by none other than Raising Black Leopard, Pat Craig. One of the worst things that I hate in this industry is hypocrites. And the thing about sanctuaries and facilities that bash private owners and other facilities and come up with wild numbers in order to do that, think that they're better than anybody else. Now, why in the world would one person have the authority and the ability to be able to do this? Play with an African lion all he wants, and that's perfectly fine. Or hey, about playing with a mountain lion. Or better yet, wrestling with a black spotted leopard. And if that ain't good enough for you, he even lets him ride around on his back. Is that the same leopard that I saw on a movie, growing up baby black leopard, that Pat Craig almost killed because he didn't know how to feed it? And miraculously, he finished off by saving that baby black leopard, feeding it KMR. Let's see. I think that's what that crazy ass Joe Exotic feeds all of his from day one. Or wait, yes, that's that baby black leopard that he took to the hardware store in that very same movie, showing off and being able to say, hey, I own a black leopard. Or how about kissing a mountain lion through the fence? What makes it right for him to do that? And he's wanting to take away the rights of private individuals that love their animals just as much. Maybe this guy from Ohio really loves and takes care of his bear. What's wrong with that? Or hey, how about the same guy raising a baby black bear and feeding it the right thing and loving it? What's wrong with that? Or one of my all-time favorites, you know, there's a man down there in Louisiana that owns a truck stop that has raised tigers way before Pat Craig ever got into this industry, and he loves his tigers just as much. Or how about the lady over there in Nevada that has tigers in her backyard, that loves and takes care of her baby tigers and adult tigers? Laying on the couch loving a baby tiger doesn't look a whole lot to me any different than Pat Craig rolling around on his couch with a baby black leopard. And one that a lot of people really pick on is people that own monkeys. This lady right here loves her monkeys. What's the difference between her, Pat Craig, Carol Baskin, and anybody else? Lori Gage up there at Black Pine Sanctuary, or everyone else that bashes private owners and people in other facilities, thinking that they're better than they are? You know, the funny thing about scamming the public, raising funds and everything else online is people are stuck on numbers. The most interesting part about 30,000, you'll see in these next few clips that 30,000 seems to be a magic number for people that are standing out there scamming people and bitching about other people having animals. So let's take a trip through some of these with Big Cat Rescue, Black Pine Sanctuary, and the very own Pat Craig, of just how many times they use the number 30,000. And there you go again. And there you go again. And one more time. So what is it with the magical number of 30,000? I think if anybody's ever attended one of my shows, I say, if you hear of somebody trying to rescue a tiger tied to a drug dealer's basement and trying to raise $10,000 to $30,000, I can promise you it's a scam. And I promise you this is a scam. Okay, so let's take a trip back to the real wacky time machine to a celebrity named Bob Barker. Now this guy has more money than he's got brains. He donated $250,000 to take 25 big cats from a Bolivian circus and ship them where other than Pat Craig's in Kingsburg, Colorado. Now you might sound like that would be a hell of a rescue story, but unfortunately these are African lions that are normally from the Serengeti deserts of Africa, laying out in the grass and the heat of which they enjoy, with antelope running around, so that way they can eat, and move them to somewhere that snows 7 months out of the year. Now don't you think that would be taking animals out of the element and moving them to a nice, cozy, snowy sanctuary? Okay, well, they claim that they build this great big building, ladies and gentlemen, to acclimate them to the weather elements and to the temperature. Okay, now I can go along with that to a certain point. But at what point of caring for these lions and getting them into this great big large building to acclimate them to the weather did we ever intend on spending half of that money on a party deck over the top of them lions inside that very same building? Now there's only one answer to that, and that's to make money. Okay, so we've been to legislation in Louisiana trying to take the rights away from Michael Sandlin and Tony the Tiger. We can get online and we can bash private owners all we want for being irresponsible, dangerous, and a public threat. Now I got a shocking surprise for each and every one of you. Through the next photos, Pat Craig's only inspections with the USDA is not having a responsible adult to do inspections. And here's another one. And another one. Yes, you're reading the TV screen right. He has been written up 3 times for failure to provide a responsible adult to do a USDA inspection. So does that mean that the world's largest wildcat sanctuary is being run by children?
Here's as it does with the lions.
Can we run through your litany of injuries?
In 30 years I've been in the hospital probably more times than I can count, and that's not because they wanted to kill you, because obviously I would have died the first attack. It was more that they were either scared or upset or just so big that when they're playing around that they break a bone or crush it. So I've had my left arm almost completely torn off.
Okay, here's where the USDA comes in on this one. Can you believe, ladies and gentlemen, and I am totally shocked because this is in the Western Division of the USDA with the exact same inspector that completely picks on Serenity Springs numerous times, the only official write-up that Wildcat Sanctuary up there in Kingsburg, Colorado has ever been written up for that I can find online. Can you believe, of all things, not having a dog tag on a dog? And if you remember yesterday's episode, write-up after write-up after write-up after write-up about nail heads being exposed on the wood that could possibly injure an animal. Now, I'm no USDA inspector, and neither is the crazy fool that we sent in there with an undercover camera. But we found, surprise, from the public's point of view, nail heads and screw heads sticking out of wood. If you missed that one, here's yet another one. Okay, hey, back to the USDA again. One question that the general public around the world would like to know is how come facilities such as ours and a few other facilities on the East Coast and the West Coast are having to raise the cages 16 foot tall for any kind of dangerous wild cat, and this man is keeping full-grown lions and full-grown tigers in 8-foot hog wire. And the best part is, no shade whatsoever, but they are provided some electric wooden spools to play on. And a couple of my all-time favorites is, hey, let's take some lions out of Bolivia, move them to Kingsburg, Colorado, where it snows 7 months of the year. And when it rains, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that they're provided for of housing is concrete culverts under the ground on an angle going to an empty septic tank called a den. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know when it rains, it's all going to run down that culvert and into that den. So are these animals being forced to sleep in water or stand out the elements because they cannot get into their den? Now, if you take a look at these lions right here, another question is how the hell do you get in that den to clean it? Okay, one of the big all-time favorites they like to complain and bitch about in order to raise money is tiger farming. One of Carol Baskin's favorite things to put online. Let's end tiger farming and tiger bone wine. Well, here is a picture that anybody can Google off the internet of a tiger farm in China, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at that. And then take a look at tiger farming in Kingsburg, Colorado, because if you look at this, I don't see a whole hell of a lot of difference. And if that one didn't give it in perspective, how about that one? Or hey, you might even compare it to a feedlot where they raise cattle. You know, at least in a feedlot, they drive by the feed chutes with a tractor and a truck that's putting silage, grain, and corn into the feed chute real nice. Well, in Kingsburg, Colorado, they just drive by and throw it over the fence. Or hey, maybe we can take 86 black bears, throw them in a great big pasture with an 8-foot fence and a couple concrete coverts above ground and call that a luxurious home. Not one tree within 500 miles. Yep, this lion looks like he's comfortable at a loving sanctuary, living in a concrete covert headed down to a septic tank. Did I say septic tank? I think I've heard that word before. Isn't that what Carol installed the day before that she reported Don missing? Now remember, folks, it's all about the care of the animals. That's what makes them the largest facility in the world. And people are giving them $250,000 to ship lions to Kingsburg, Colorado. But you saw the cages. Now take a look at the luxurious Welcome Center. And while this lion's living in this 8-foot feedlot underneath, they spend how many hundreds of $1,000s on this observation deck over these animals only because they're not making a dime, and it's not about exploiting animals or how many visitors they can get. Remember, it's a sanctuary. Now I gotta shake Pat Craig's hand and congratulate him on such a marketing campaign that he does to take animals away from private individuals because they don't deserve to get in and love on a tiger. Oh my God, somebody might get hurt.
Here's as it does with the lions.
Can we run through your litany of injuries?
Yeah, in 30 years I've been in the hospital probably more times than I can count.
That can be dangerous. Leave it to the professionals. But this guy is an accident waiting to happen because he walks in a cage to open the door and allow 5 full-grown tigers in there with him all at one time without any backup. I'm going to be like a bulldog on your nuts. I'm Joe Exotic, and this is Joe Exotic Speaks Out. I'll see you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time to fuck with somebody else.